Experience the news on NNC, Neural Newscast.
Neural Newscast Global. I'm Andrew Lindbeck. Today is November 24th, 2025. On this day in 1963, Lee Harvey Oswald, the accused assassin of President John F. Kennedy, was shot and killed while in police custody in Dallas.
This is NNC, Neural Newscast. We're here every day with reliable, fast-paced reporting that combines the speed of AI with the judgment of real people. Find our full archive at neuralnewscast.com.
From the World Desk, here's what's new. AP reports more than 250 children are missing after gunmen attacked a Catholic boarding school in central Nigeria. Samuel Green has more on this.
AP reports more than 250 children remain missing in central Nigeria after gunmen storm a Catholic boarding school, seize students, and flee into nearby forests. Officials say security forces pursue the attackers as local authorities lead a search. Parents gather outside the campus, pleading for swift action and safe return. The government condemns the assault and says negotiations and rescue efforts are underway. Community leaders warn the mass abduction underscores a deepening security crisis in rural states. This is Samuel Green for Neural Newscast.
Reuters reports the United States moves to designate Venezuela's Cartel de los Soles as a foreign terrorist organization, escalating pressure on President Nicolas Maduro. U.S. officials allege the network links current and former Venezuelan military officers to drug trafficking and corruption. The label would trigger sweeping sanctions, asset freezes, and criminal penalties for supporters. It also restricts travel and raises the risk of prosecution for anyone who aids the group. Critics warn the step could complicate diplomacy and humanitarian channels. Maduro denies wrongdoing and calls U.S. measures political aggression. The move signals Washington's tougher posture toward Caracas. This is Daniel Grove for Neural Newscast.
Israeli officials say a targeted strike in Beirut kills senior Hezbollah commander Haytham Ali Tabatabai. Reuters reports the operation hits a vehicle in the city's southern suburbs late Monday local time. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu calls Tabatabai a mass murderer and notes a U.S. bounty on him. Lebanese authorities report explosions shake the densely populated area. Hezbollah does not immediately announce succession. The strike escalates months of cross-border fire between Israel and Hezbollah. Regional diplomats warn of wider conflict if retaliation follows. This is Thomas Golding for Neural Newscast.
Reuters reports U.S. and Ukrainian officials say they make meaningful progress in talks on a potential framework to end Russia's war. Washington and Kyiv call the latest discussions highly productive and say negotiations will continue. They do not release terms, but signal work on security guarantees and humanitarian corridors. The aim is to reduce attacks on civilians and stabilize energy and grain exports. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky seeks a settlement that preserves sovereignty and territorial integrity. U.S. officials stress sustained military and economic support alongside diplomacy, with further meetings planned. This is Cassandra Joyce for Neural Newscast.
A U.S. government cable seen by Reuters says Kremlin-run outlets expand Spanish-language disinformation across Latin America, targeting Mexico to strain U.S. ties. The push amplifies narratives on sanctions, Ukraine, and U.S. migration policy. U.S. officials warn the campaign aims to erode trust in democratic institutions and security cooperation. Mexico's proximity and trade links with the United States make it a prime focus. One official calls the strategy persistent and adaptive. This is Nathaniel Cohen for Neural Newscast.
Reuters reports the United States and the European Union remain stuck on trade details despite a broad framework. U.S. officials travel to Brussels to hammer out terms on steel, aluminum, and clean tech subsidies. Europe seeks relief from U.S. tariffs and equal treatment for green industries. Washington wants stricter rules on Chinese overcapacity and carbon-intensive imports. Both sides weigh domestic politics ahead of review deadlines and WTO scrutiny. A narrowly tailored pact could protect transatlantic supply chains, but unresolved issues still risk new tariffs. This is Laura Navarro for Neural Newscast.
From the Economic Desk, here's what's new. Reuters reports French retailers escalate a court fight with Shein over alleged unfair competition. Turning to Ethan Wells for details.
Thousands of French retailers file a class action lawsuit against Shein, alleging unfair competition, Reuters reports. The case lands in Paris Commercial Court and targets the fast fashion giant's pricing, product volume, and tax practices. Trade groups say deep discounts and rapid inventory churn undercut local shops. The suit follows protests outside Shein's first French store earlier this month. Plaintiffs seek damages and stricter oversight of online marketplaces. Shein says it follows French law and supports small businesses, but retailers warn the model hollows out main streets. This is Ethan Wells for Neural Newscast.
From gadgets to breakthroughs, here's what's new. Apple's iPad OS 26 window management can confuse users. Here's a simple trick to open and arrange new windows. Google says Gemini Deep Research can read context from Gmail, Drive, and Chat, and users can disable that access in settings. Benjamin Carter joins us with more on this story.
Google says Gemini Deep Research can pull details from Gmail, Drive, and Chat to answer questions faster. The company says it does not use Gmail, Docs, or Sheets to train Gemini unless you provide that content. Privacy-minded users can turn the feature off. In Gmail, open Settings, find Gemini or Data Controls, and disable access. You can keep search speed if you like, or choose Privacy First. This is Benjamin Carter for Neural Newscast.
From the Health Desk, here's what's new. The BBC reports a 3-year-old named Oliver shows remarkable progress 9 months after receiving a world-first gene therapy. Here's the latest on the environment. A zombie fire in British Columbia reignited after winter, highlighting how overwintering blazes threaten permafrost and forests. Now, Samuel Green joins us.
British Columbia Wildfire Service says a zombie fire reignites after winter near Donnie Creek, extending wildfire season into spring. A lightning strike, a dry autumn, and a warm spring leave forest tinder dry. Snow insulates the smoldering ground fire through winter. It resurfaces and burns into late summer, destroying more than 600,000 hectares, about 1.5 million acres, of boreal forest. Scientists warn these overwintering fires stress permafrost, slow vegetation recovery, and set the stage for larger, earlier wildfires across the Arctic, according to peer-reviewed research and government agencies. This is Samuel Green for Neural Newscast.
Federal agencies moved to narrow Clean Water Act protections, aligning with the Supreme Court's Sackett v. EPA ruling. The EPA and Army Corps propose a stricter Waters of the United States definition that protects only wetlands holding water in the wet season with a continuous surface connection to permanent streams, rivers, or lakes. Seasonal streams and many prairie potholes would lose coverage. Scientists and conservation groups warn the changes could weaken flood control, water filtration, and carbon storage. EPA says the rule follows court guidance. This is Stephen Summers for Neural Newscast.
A look at what's happening in entertainment. Bollywood icon Dharmendra, 89, is celebrated with tributes worldwide after a career spanning 7 decades. Let's hear from Lydia Holmes.
Bollywood legend Dharmendra, 89, is celebrated across India. The beloved leading man headlines more than 300 films over 7 decades, known for action, romance, and comic timing. He rises to fame in the 1960s and remains a marquee draw. Generations call him He-Man for his swagger and heart. AP reports tributes flooding social media today, honoring a star who helped define Indian cinema. This is Lydia Holmes for Neural Newscast.
International headlines coming up.
Reuters reports the United States launches a new push to end the war in Ukraine. Officials propose direct talks including Ukraine, Russia, and European partners, aiming for a ceasefire framework. The plan links sanctions relief to measurable troop withdrawals and verified border security. Diplomats weigh prisoner exchanges and humanitarian corridors to lower civilian risk. Allies urge transparency with Kyiv. Critics warn Moscow may stall, but envoys say, quote, progress requires pressure and incentives. This is Isabella Wright for Neural Newscast.
That's our hour. Here's where to find us. That wraps our coverage for this hour. For more, visit neuralnewscast.com and follow us on your favorite podcast platform. And that wraps up today's news. Stay connected with us at neuralnewscast.com for continuous updates, and don't forget to follow Neural Newscast on your preferred podcast app. From all of us here, I'm Andrew Lindbeck.
Thanks for tuning in to Neural Newscast. Stay curious, stay informed, and visit nnewscast.com for more daily news and fascinating stories from history. Neural Newscast merges real and AI-generated voices to ensure rapid, high-quality news production. Our content is created using advanced AI models and rigorously reviewed by humans for accuracy and fairness. Despite efforts to prevent AI errors, occasional inaccuracies may occur. We encourage listeners to cross-check critical details with trusted sources. Read about our AI transparency at nnewscast.com.